Wonder Woman 1984, a movie I was not looking forward to watching it because I could predict in my head it was going to be quite generic given how the first one was kind of the same thing. I was at the very least kind of hoping that it would be somewhat of an improvement in the first one, or at least in the same level of just somewhat competent movie that is kind of a 6 if you were being kind. I wasn't the biggest fan of Wonder Woman 1. It came out a long time ago, I forgot about it, and I just thought maybe they would do something else with the character. I was not really fully expecting that they would give the role of director again to Patty Jenkins, a lady that seems completely incapable of framing action scenes competently and giving any sort of direction to her actors, especially child actors. I do not know why she's so insistent in including kids in her movies when she clearly is incapable of teaching them how to properly do anything in the screen. This movie was much more incompetent and overall messy and just completely unfocused from beginning to end that I was just confused of how this even came to be. This is another example of an inexcusable bad mess of a movie, very much so like Mulan, but at least Mulan had the excuse of incredible corruption and fear of China. This movie has no reason to be this bad. Basically, Patty Jenkins has complete control over this movie. I do not know if this is because of laziness, just lack of attempts, or just overall incompetence. And it's really hard to tell of which one of these trees caused this movie to be this big of a stinker. Because this movie, don't get me wrong, it sucks. It is probably the worst superhero movie that came out this year. Sure, there's only like 3, but to be worse than New Mutants, you would have had to do something amazingly bad, and this movie managed to do that beautifully. It was almost like they were trying to be as stupid as possible, because as soon as you try to think, the movie falls apart completely. I will give a little bit of thought for some aspects of this movie that really do not matter for how forgettable they are, and then we'll get how massively structured and massively written this movie actually is. For the few things that really do not matter in this movie, let's talk about acting. Everybody's demonstration of what they understood from the script seems to be incredibly shallow. I am shocked that there was even an attempt to characterize these people, because these characters, they are just following the plot along and not doing anything else. They pretend to have relationships with each other and they pretend to have stakes and conflict, but really nothing in this movie matters, and they make a point of that at the end when nothing actually happened by the end of the movie. So when you see characters interacting with each other and developing, you can really tell that the actors couldn't do much with what they were given. The only person that sometimes accidentally kind of maybe could be seen as entertaining would be Maxwell Lord, Pedro Pascal's character. In interviews and in the movie, it was pretty clear that he made a very good attempt at not giving a single fuck. He even admitted that he wanted to be very much like Nicolas Cage in this movie. And while he doesn't have the maniac energy and the overall insanity of the Cage,
A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
there are times that him not giving a single care in the world of what he's doing makes the scene slightly more bearable. There's so little to point out besides they read their line good and they didn't just stumble on what they were saying. While they were saying it, they had the decency of having a second take, even when the kids' takes are absolutely trash and every time they speak you're just gonna go, whose producer's son is that? Or other form of nepotism got this child involved in acting because it was clearly not based on skill or ability to smile normally or cry convincingly, because there is a very prominent kid in this movie because we have to care about a character, Maxwell Lord. When he doesn't have a character, he doesn't do anything, and everything he does in the movie makes absolutely no sense. I really can't give you more except the fact that it's completely bizarre to me that in 2020 somehow people are still making the Poison Ivy, Electro, and Lady from Ghostbusters mashup of those characters. It seems to be a very good trope on how you know this movie is going to be terrible if it's a superhero movie. If you start with your secondary villain as a nerdy girl or guy with big old cartoonish glasses that can't do absolutely anything right, and then for no reason whatsoever, once they obtain superpowers, there are immediately supervillains. This is the exact trajectory, lines, and momentum that Electro and Poison Ivy, some of the worst villains ever put to film. And guess what? Cheetah is just that. Before I try to tackle the writing and pace and just how overly bloated this movie really is, it's 2 hours and 30 minutes. It truly could have been an hour and 40 because, you know, Cheetah is completely pointless and does not need to be in the movie at all. All of the lessons that Diana learns have nothing to do with Cheetah. She's not some mirror image of Diana. She doesn't really have real motivations besides, I used to be a nerd and I do not want to be bullied, so I'm willing to kill the universe. Whoever is making videos, movies, or whatever, whoever's writing characters, let the trope die. This is the thing about Wonder Woman 1984, alright? This movie, even though it's an incredible mess that is surprisingly bad, is also an incredible derivative piece of just mundane nothing. It takes so many ideas of not even good movies like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Ghostbusters 2016, goddamn Hancock. Let me see. How about we have an immortal character? She cannot be beaten. She then, throughout the movie, starts to lose her powers because of some convenient thing we introduced into the movie. And then later in the movie, she'd change her mind about being okay with being human and then moves on to save the day now that they got their powers back. Wonder Woman 1984 stole from Hancock. Hancock was at least different in the sense that he was an alcoholic bum that didn't care and at least had a little bit of a character development. Wonder Woman starts the movie one way and ends up with the same exact manner. Even if they pretend that Steve is in the movie for rom-com.
You know what? I'm ready to go.
I think we can do better.
Parachute pants?
Yeah,
Does everybody parachute now?
I cannot give you a better description of why he is in here. They want to create some sort of conflict with Diana, but instead of making Cheetah be a character that makes sense to be in the movie by having more of a conflict with Diana, they just include Chris Pine. And then because Chris Pine is in the movie, now the movie cannot focus on anything and nobody has a believable relationship and nothing makes sense, and you can't even get a good idea of what the conflict, plot, or story is supposed to be. So let's get to the writing, because was it even written? What is this? None of these sections of the movie feel like they belong together. Whenever this comes to Blu-ray, DVD, whatever, when you choose the chapters of the DVD, if you just randomly select them, you're gonna think they gave you a really good deal because you're gonna feel like you're watching 4 different movies. I do not have a problem with movies that change their tones throughout the movie. I do not have a problem with very different styles within the movie. That can work. What can't work is when your styles and tone change completely in one cut. The opening of this movie is one of the perfect examples for that, because we start again with what seems to me like it's a deleted scene from the first Wonder Woman, because it almost has no important, relevant information displayed in front of you besides Wonder Woman is a competent warrior/athlete. Something we have learned and been demonstrated in the previous movie, Justice League, Batman v Superman. We know she's a competent fighter. She has had 3 different appearances in different movies where she does the same thing. You don't have to establish that again in the same way you did in your first movie. People's brains are larger than a pea. I know you don't believe me because of how badly you wrote this movie, but we have slightly larger brains. Maybe peanut size. One thing that I also want to mention of how the tones clash aggressively with each other is just the font selection for the opening scene. They have a very 80s font that looks slightly off of focus because of the color that they chose, overlaid with Themyscirian people fighting in a coliseum. Do you think that me putting really 80s aesthetic things looks weird? Yeah, it looks weird. They are contrasting with each other in a way that doesn't draw attention and makes it kind of interesting to the eye. It just looks like you didn't put any thought into your movie. And then that sequence is followed immediately by something that would be a much better opening, that would re-establish Wonder Woman's prowess as a superhero, would not have to thread the same freaking opening from Wonder Woman 1, and also would make more sense to have the 80s font on an 80s mall where everybody's cartoonishly 80s. And if they had at least kept that very cartoonish tone throughout the whole movie, I maybe, possibly not, because of how stupid everything is, could have given it a little bit more of a pass. Because at least if you were cartoonish and everything was just silly and nothing truly mattered and it was just about having fun with your friends and family, sure, whatever. The mall heist scene is the most competent action scene, is the part where Wonder Woman is most in character, and then after that, the movie completely falls apart. Again, I want to iterate, the small heist is not even that good. I kinda like how slidey she is in the action, that's kinda fun. I kinda understood what was happening for a few frames, but then Patty Jenkins doesn't know how to frame action, so it just has a ton of cuts, even though you have CG on your side. I am sure Gal Gadot would have been more than competent in delivering a believable hand-to-hand fight. The woman was on a military base. She has had training for that. But no, you can't do anything believably in this movie because almost every other part of an action scene looks like maybe around 1976 Superman special effects. It is laughably poorly implemented. Every time that CG starts, I wouldn't blame you if you started laughing. Nobody's motivations make sense. None. Nobody's. Again, this movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes, and because nothing makes sense, nothing feels connected, no action seems to really lead to another, we just feel completely lost as the movie drags you along for its unbearable runtime. The movie does run by fast. It doesn't feel slow. It just feels like you've gone through 4 different movies by the end because you're just following along in a plot that makes absolutely no sense. The best that I can summarize the plot is nerd lady Kristen Wiig gets angry after she gets superpowers and becomes Cheetah. That is not a plot, I understand, I truly do, but that's just how connected she is to everything. Pedro Pascal, Maxwell Lord, gets to a wishing stone, and he wishes to be the wishing stone. And then because he wants ultimate power, so you're telling me that he has a wishing stone that can grant any wishes, and he wants unlimited power, but instead of just wishing for unlimited power, he wishes to be the wishing stone, something that has more limited power than unlimited power. Okay, let's just assume that he can only wish to be the wishing stone in the sense that he wants unlimited power, and that we have to assume that this is just convenience and he didn't think about it. Cool, great, that's fine. So Maxwell Lord learns right away, pretty much, I would hope, if he's not brain dead, that every time he grants wishes to other people, he can take something away from them, but it also basically starts killing him. This man, for most of the movie, starts granting wishes to random people for no reason and never takes anything back from them, even though he's dying. And then, for no reason whatsoever, he starts traveling the world to grant wishes to different people that have different things because he wants a specific thing, but you do not know what that is. It's, I think, is just more, whatever that means. And then he goes to Egypt, and then he gets oil, and then he goes to the president and gets the presidency. And then he goes to a bunker, and then he screams at nobody to grant wishes to get health But throughout the movie, at no point does he ask for his health back, even though throughout the movie he's clearly dying and in pain and is granting wishes to random people with no cost. So why wouldn't he throughout the movie continuously to get his health back from people that can't give him things that he wants? And what he wants is more. His ultimate goal in this movie is to get into a bunker in the middle of nowhere, scream at a TV that he wants people to wish things so he can take their health, and then he wants to continue to scream at the TV by himself in a bunker so he can continue to take their health, even though he's now healthy and has achieved everything that he wanted to. Why is he doing anything? The man could have literally asked for unlimited money from the stone. All he cares about is money. This man is more cartoonish than Mr. Krabs.
I like money.
He's willing to basically lead the world into nuclear Armageddon because he wants more money. Literally nothing in this movie makes any sort of logical sense. Cheetah is a perfect example of that because we are just told that apparently the stone is taking her humanity, but she just seemed fine. She just seemed like a grumpy lady at the end. And then she makes a different wish. I thought people could only make one wish, but then she took away the other wish. But when Wonder Woman made her wish, her negative impact from her first wish went away. So why wouldn't Cheetah taking away her wish but making another wish get something else from her instead of her humanity? You can see how many leaps of logic you have to make for anything to make any sort of sense. Not only that, Cheetah's second wish makes her weaker because her first wish was to be like Diana, an immortal god. Her second wish was to be a cheetah woman that changes sizes randomly whenever she starts fighting Diana. This happens in this movie for no reason. We didn't have to have a giant cheetah woman then become a smaller cheetah woman and then a giant cheetah woman again to have a fight with Wonder Woman. How are you this incompetent, Patty Jenkins? You have a team of however many visual effects people that you probably paid very little to, and then you gave $10 million to Gal Gadot. I could probably see why the visual effects team was like, it's fine if you change the sizes. Patty Jenkins won't even notice. And clearly she didn't, because it's painfully obvious throughout every single time that Cheetah Woman is attacking Wonder Woman, she changes sizes. Oh, and Steve, I don't know his last name, it literally doesn't matter, he's not a character, is put in the movie to make Wonder Woman weaker. And I don't know what he does. I don't know what his point is. It's to teach a lesson to Wonder Woman to let go. Something she could probably learned by looking at the Cheetah Woman going insane for not being able to let go of something that she wanted. They could have merged their plots in a way that Cheetah Woman didn't feel completely pointless and became another Electro. It was a very easy thing to do. If you're having difficulties keeping up with what happened in this movie, do not worry. I did too. Randomly, we are at a Mayan guy's house because apparently the rock is a Mayan's god's rock, because Wonder Woman said that if she learned of what god made that rock, she could fight against it. But then she just uses her lasso MacGuffin to mind control the whole world into basically wishing that they didn't wish their wishes existed in the first place. Another thing that makes absolutely no sense, they try really lazily to explain it away in the movie, is how Maxwell Lord has to touch you to be able to grant your wish and take something from you. He doesn't though. At a point in the movie, he's in the White House. It does not matter. It does not matter. Do not worry about that. It doesn't matter. Okay, cool. He looks at a whiteboard, and the whiteboard has a satellite. And some guy goes, ah yes, this would be like if the whole world was holding hands. And that was all it took The one thing that the stone had going against it, which was it had to be held to grant wishes, is now completely null and never mattered in the first place. It's like we're all holding hands. Did you understand what I said? No? Okay, let me explain. Nothing happened. The wishing stone fixes everything, and Maxwell Lord doesn't get punished for almost creating a nuclear holocaust. Yeah, that tracks. That's fine. Oh, Wonder Woman flies now, which is fine. She flies in the comics sometimes. Some guy just had to tell her how to do it. Some man just had to tell Wonder Woman how to fly. Because this is a feminist movie. This is a totally feminist movie. When a girl acquires power, she goes insane and tries to kill people. This movie teaches you nothing. It pretends that it has a message, which is greed bad. You passed 7th grade. I am so proud of you. I am just baffled by how utterly terrible everything was. I don't know why they included the stupid thing about the wish making. They just wanted Steve to be back and couldn't think of a good reason, so they just made a MacGuffin that completely breaks their movie at every step. And they couldn't even think of a real consequence to be had, so the movie just ends. It ends in a really bizarre, out of place, out of nowhere Christmas scene, straight out of something that I wish I would never have to say again, a Hallmark movie. Why? I am glad that somehow people with no talent or skill can write a script that makes no sense and is terrible from beginning to end, have scenes that do not connect or feel like are from the same movie, have their tone violently shift throughout the entire thing, still get jobs. I can't wait for Wonder Woman 3 to be an even bigger piece of shit than this, because Patty Jenkins clearly has an ego where she thinks she can do everything. Let's not forget she's director, producer, and writer, so it's all her fault. That's all I had to say. I literally have no conclusion for this movie. If you enjoyed my failed attempt at making sense of whatever the hell this was, you can subscribe to my channel where I might lose my mind into another movie because this was just genuinely awful. Alright, bye.